Everybody, and welcome to another session of Scratch Coding. It's Mark here from Ashburn Library in the Ashburn Coder Dojo. Today I'm going to show you a quick game of archery and shooting. So what we're going to do is, the main thing about this is how to download an existing backdrop first and then to tweak it with our own design. So we're going to have to go on to the Raspberry Pi Foundation website to download a project. It's quite simple, and that's the whole point, is showing you how you can download an existing project for tweaking later on. If you're using the offline editor, which is the app that I have here in front of me, there's one link for it. And then if you're using the other online access where you have to sign in and you've got your folders and stuff like that on Scratch, I'll show you that as well. I'll put both links on in the comments underneath this video so that you can see them as well. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we have to go to your internet browser, and we type in the following: http semicolon / and then it's rpf.io /p/en /archery -go. And as you can see down the bottom, the file has downloaded. So what we want to do now is we want to go to where our downloads are on the computer, because it's a zip file, and we need to open it and see it's there as an SB3. That's a Scratch 3 resource file that we need to load up now. So I have them here where I can actually copy them over. I have a Scratch folder where I keep any of my resources and stuff like that. It's a handy way to find them. If you've got a lot of files in the computer, it's just an easy way of organizing them. And also when you save your projects down from the offline editor, it's quite handy to have them all there, so you can open them up whenever you want to in the Scratch program. So to open it up, you click on File, you click on Load from your computer, and then you can see that it's here, and click on Open. And there you go. This is the background we want to do, and as you can see, we have a little target here. So we're going to, that's the main sprite with the actual target board as our background. Now, for the online people with the online accounts, we don't need to sign in. You can sign in, but we don't need to. It's quite similar. It's http semicolon / and then it is rpf.io and then I'll just / archery on. This should bring you up to the Scratch MIT, and as you can see, it's done by the Raspberry Pi Foundation, the archery in the background. But what we want to do is you need to sign in. So you sign in to your account, and then what this does is it gives you the remix option. See up here along the top, and if you click on the remix option, it's now a file in yours, and the project is saved along. So we can change this to whatever we want to online. So I'm just going to go and call it the archery game. Okay. So what I'm going, and then you can share it with anyone, but I'm going to go and I'm going to use the offline editor just for this anyway. So the first thing we need to do is we want to start the game, and when we want to start the game, we want a brand new arrow. This will become clear now in a few minutes when we go through this. So to start the game, we have to go to the events, and so we want that when the green arrow is clicked, we want to broadcast. Okay, so the broadcast message one here, and the reason we want that is we want to broadcast. It means we want to bring up a new arrow. But what we want is we can change this, and we can type in new message. And what we're going to do is we're going to say new arrow, and click OK. So I'm going to put that to the side here. So basically, every time the green flag is clicked, we're going to broadcast a new arrow. Then what we want to do is we want to tell it when it receives the new arrow. So if we scroll down, and you see when I receive the message 1, so we can click that down and see that the new arrow is here. So when I receive the new arrow, Now what we want to do is we want to set this target over in the corner out of the way, just at a starting point each time. So what we want to have is we want to have the go to X and Y. And what we're going to do is we're going to change that to minus 150. I'm going to change this to minus 150. Alright, I'm going to click the green arrow a second, and as you can see, it's down here in this corner. So that's the axis, because if you divide it into a plane, you've got the line across here, and above this line is all positives, and down here it's all negatives, and the same with the left and right. So minus x and minus y 150 is down here in this corner. We also want to set the size. So I want to create the size. So see here on this one in the looks, I want to drag this in, and I want to set the size. Now I want to set the size to be big. Alright, I want to set the size to 400. There's a reason for this that I'm going to show you now in a minute, just to give it the effect. So you can see it's a nice big target there. Alright, and we just keep testing as we're going along to make sure that everything's working. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to make this target move across the screen in a random way. Okay, so I'm going to first of all use the forever loop so that it keeps going. Okay, so we drag the forever loop over, and then if we go to the movement, sorry, I went into the wrong one. If we go to the movement, there is one here, the glide, and on an X and Y point. So we slide the glide over, and we want it every half a second. I want to make it move quite quickly. And what we want to do is, if you remember operators, we can pick up randoms, and because see that's an oval shape, we can put them in. So we slide one in here, and we slide one in here. So we want to make it go to random positions. So what I want to do is I want it to start off in and around the size. If you noticed along here, the whole circle, if you draw up, you're missing the edge, and if you draw across, you're missing the edge. So I want to go in and out of this box. So I want it to go from minus 150 all the way to plus 150 on this axis. I want to go from minus 150 all the way to plus 150 up here, so that it's going in this box along here. So to do that, we do minus 150 and plus 150. We're setting the parameters to how it's moving. And what we're going to do now is we're going to test it. So now you can see it's going in a random position, but it's sticking within the field around it, because that's what these parameters have set. They've set the field like that. Okay, so we can stop that now. Okay, so we want to do a thing so that we take our shot. So when we take our shot, we want the actual target here, the sprite, to stop moving. So we need to make sure that the code is stopped. So we want to go to our events, and we want to do the when the spacebar key is pressed. Okay. We want, and then we have in the controls, we have the stop, and if you see the drop down menu, you can stop other scripts in this sprite. So when we press the space bar, this is going to stop, and this is going to stop. Okay. So what we want to do now is we want to create an action for when the space bar is pressed. So the first thing I want to do, so the reason why we had this at 400 was because we wanted to make it nice and big, but now I want to make it so that it looks as though the arrow is actually going onto the board. So we want to reduce it. So to do that, we need the repeat. You see this one here. And what we want to do is we want to go to the looks, and we want to see the change size. Slide that in, and we want to make it get smaller. So to make it get smaller, we need it to be a minus. So I'm going to do minus 10. Alright, but what I'm going to do is repeating it 10 times means it's going to get smaller by minus 10 each time. But that's still only going to be 300. So what I want to do is I want to make it 50 times, so it's going to get really small. So what we can do now is we can test it. So we can test the code and see if the spacebar stops it. And as you can see, it's creating a little arrow. We can hit it again. Just, if you see that, and you can see the little dot is just along here. So you can see it along there. So that works. So we stop the code now, and what we want to do is we want to give it a score. So we want to keep each of these a score. So we start off with the bullseye. It's going to be the hardest one to get. So we want to do that we want to do an if and then. So if something happens, then something else will happen, and if not, we continue with it. Okay, so that's in the controls, and if you see it here, it's the if and then, and you put the variable in. So it's going to, spacebar is clicked, it's going to stop all the other sprite codes, it's going to repeat, getting smaller, and then if such and such is hit, it's going to do something. So if we go to our sensing, because it needs to sense, so see the touching color that fits in there, and now we want to make it yellow. Okay, so if you click in on the color, you get the options. Now you can try and pick in, if you know the exact color of this yellow, you can try and pick it in, you can try the saturations. But see this little button down here with the ink on the background logo? This means that if we click on that, we can scroll into our background and we can select the color that we want. So we want to select the yellow. So once that little square there in the middle is over the yellow, you can see that it actually changes color. So we want to take the yellow and we want to select it. And now the yellow is in the box. And we click out to the side and get rid of it. So if the yellow was clicked, we want to say hello for 2 seconds. Now we don't want to say hello. We want to put in our score. So there's like somebody calling out what we've hit because we're far away and somebody saying, yep, you're hit that. So we're going to go 200 points. Alright. And we'll try it again. I'm not going to hit the yellow, so it's very hard. I've been trying for a while now. See, no, it's too quick. And nothing came up because it didn't hit the yellow. So if you see this little bit of code, I'm going to pull it out again for a second. If we wanted to do it for each of these and do, say, 150 points, 100 points, 50 points, and 0 points, how do you think we're going to do that? I'll let you think for a second. What we're going to do is we're going to change each of these colors by doing the exact same thing and change the points total. But rather than going across and dragging if and when and dragging the color touch each time, if we just right click and on the mouse and duplicate, it creates one. Now sometimes this happens where it clicks in, so we just need to change it. But if you can see that, we can do the, we can take it all out here. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in total. So I'm going to bring my code back and I'm going to line them all up. Oh. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to So now I have them all lined up now. So I'm going to go and I'm going to just change the scores first. So I'm going to go down by 50 each time. And then 0 for the last. Or we can type miss, because we can say that the white is a miss. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we have to change the colors. So if you remember, take this, and because this is the 150, it's the next one. This one's the 100, so we want that to be the blue. And so on. We want the next one to be black. So I'm just clicking the little ink pad at the bottom here. See this one? And I'm hovering over the color that I want. So that's them now. So let's just test this again. So as it's going around, and I'm going to hit the space bar. 100 points. Okay, so that's only going to one, so I have to hit the green flag every single time. Okay, how do I change that now? Okay, so that I have a new arrow each time. So there's a thing called the broadcast that we used earlier on. And it's here, and what we want to do is we want to put this down at the end, and we're going to change a new arrow. So what this is telling us to do is when the space bar is pressed, stop all the other scripts in the sprite, reduce the size, and then if it touches the yellow, say that, the red, the blue, the black, and the white all the way down, and then we're going to broadcast a new arrow. So let's test this now. It's gone through, 100 points for 2 seconds, and then after 2 seconds the new arrow comes in. Okay, so how do we add a score to it? Can you remember from the catch game? The score is in the variables blocks here, so we make a variable and we're going to call it score. Okay, so what we're going to do then is at the very start, when here we have when this the green flag is clicked, broadcast new arrow, and we want to set the score to 0 because this is the first action that happens. So by doing this, it's shown that it's getting everything set to 0, squaring it all off, and it's all perfect. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to also say change score. Okay, so we're just going to add a change score in here, change score in here, and the same with the rest of them. And then we enter in the same values again. Okay, so we change the score by 200, by 150, by 100, by 50, and by 0. So nothing happens with that one. So let's just test that now and see what happens. As you can see, my score has gone up by 100. Another 100, and it just keeps going up. I'm going to try a 50 there now. Yeah, so it's gone up to 250, if you can see. I'm going to stop that for a second.